Now, would you look at the clock? It is time for a full end ship tour. And I'm gonna get right into it. Right here on the screen you can see the full schematic of the end ship, all digitalized and negative. And I'm just going to get right into it and start at the command module. Now the command module, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's the place from which the entire ship is basically controlled, and 6 of the 8 crew members will gather here during critical mission phases. The module itself isn't really designed to be operated separately from the main ship, but it still can detach and maneuver on its own and even re-enter the Earth's atmosphere or the Martian atmosphere and use its parachutes and thrusters to land on its own. So it can function as a sort of lifeboat in emergency situations, but primarily just houses the cockpit and probably a lab and maybe even some cryo chambers, but that's all interchangeable. And like we'll see in the crew modules or crew quarters, I've completely left it empty except for, well, the cockpit, just because it looks nicer with all that empty space. Up here we can see a small escape airlock, not really designed to be used as a primary airlock, because if we move out of this module, we got our primary airlock right here. I haven't really decided what the practical use would be for this module that I'm standing in right here. Maybe it's just another lab. It makes for a nice observation module, but that isn't its primary function, since we got our primary observation module up here. Down here we got our docking airlock slash drop chamber, since that's more like what I'm actually using it for. But if the ship would dock at a space station for refueling and maintenance, it would dock with this larger airlock down there. Okay, moving out this front part of the ship, we got our central tunnel, which connects, well, those front modules and the command module with the crew quarters and capsules and reactor room back there, and it also serves as a storage area. From this main tunnel you can access the 8 cargo modules and the 4 small landing capsules. Out there we can see a cargo module, the docking airlock, and over there another cargo module and one of the 2 rotating crew quarters. Moving on to the middle of the ship, we got our 4 rotating sections, which includes the 2 crew quarters, which rotate to simulate gravity via like G-force, and our ladder ways leading down towards those, and our 2 primary landers. Okay, so let's leave this lander and hop down the ladder way right into the lower crew quarters. Just like the command module, I left this module or those two modules completely empty for now, just for looks. They actually should have 2 levels as well as 4 beds each, and just some furniture and recreational stuff, since it's the main area the crew is gonna be spending time in during their long journeys. Well, I might add that stuff at some point. I don't see it happening in the near future, since I'm very occupied with my builds on the mainland island for now. I'm also hesitating to just put beds in here, since it would be a disaster if someone would actually try to sleep in those. Finally, back here we got our reactor room containing a small fusion reactor represented by this beacon, which provides power to the magnets that accelerate the plasma fuel that carries the ship forward long term, and it's being accelerated through this, well, acceleration chamber that I'm looking down right now. The plasma stream is being represented by those end rods right there. We've got a couple more hatches leading to the aft cargo modules and the 2 small aft landers as well. And then that's basically it. Just to take one last look from the outside, we got our position thrusters right there, represented by those smooth stone blocks and the stone buttons. On the corners of the fuel tanks, which are with those, it's supposed to look like gold, these gold insulated fuel tanks. Got 4 large fuel tanks, and the plasma fuel is being heated by this fusion reactor and accelerated in this tunnel. And finally emerging from this aft thruster. The solar panels probably actually aren't solar panels, but like heat dispenser panels to give off like excess heat from the reactor, basically converting it into electromagnetic radiation and just giving that off into space if it can't be used, well, to heat plasma. Also, we got some more extra fuel tanks in the back here surrounding the acceleration chamber. So that is basically it, the entire end spaceship in and out. I could have gone into more detail on some parts and the kind of missions that this interplanetary spaceship would be used for, but I didn't get into that because the video would be much longer and I'd be speculating and rambling a lot more, and don't really feel that comfortable just commentating without a lengthy script, which would take ages to complete. But while I might not turn that into content, I am gonna work on some of the details, some more drawings of the unmanned cargo chambers, for example. Maybe even work out 1 or 2 mission concepts. That's basically just my hobby, like floating around these fantasy worlds of manned space flight, just being creative and kind of escaping the actual world, which fucking sucks, and I don't see anything like that happening in my lifetime, or actually ever. So in a way I'm always gonna continue working on that, and I might even start building the next spaceship, but that's like 1 or 2 years away at least. But I probably will stream every now and then, and until then, thank you for watching.